All right, we're going to go over some word problems from 7.6. The first one's about a rate question. The second one's about a speed. So this one you're building deck, and they're working together, and they take 20 hours if they are together. Okay, so the thing I like to think of for this question is if you take a rate, the rate that it takes to do something, and you multiply it by a time, it will give you 1. Like in this case, the rate it takes someone to build it times the time they use to build it will give you 1 deck. So for example, if it took you an hour to build a deck, your rate would be, and let's talk about rates actually. The way rates work is that they're written as fractions. So it's like you build 1 deck. Ooh, pen's being all weird. 1 deck per 60 minutes. Okay, that's your rate, 1 per 60. So really the number we care about is how long it takes you to do it. So let's do an example here so it makes sense. If I said your rate was 1 over 60 minutes and you multiplied it by 60 minutes, that would give you 1 deck, which means that's how much you would complete. If I put 30 minutes, you would actually only get like half a deck, which makes sense because in 30 minutes you'd build half a deck. So what we're going to do with this question is set it up using all the numbers and the same basic idea we just said. So we're going to say the rate times the time is equal to 1 deck. But there's 2 of them working. So we're going to do rate times time twice. The only thing that's different is that these aren't the exact same rates. Her rate is going to be 1 over m for Marcy, okay, times the time. It gave you 20 hours. They're both using the same amount of time, so it's still 20. Then I'm going to add the apprentice's rate, still times 20, gives me 1. Now, the apprentice's rate is going to be m plus 9, because here it said it takes her 9 hours longer to build. So now that you have that set up, you can solve the rest of it. All you need to do is multiply everything by m plus 9, then factor and solve. That's the last unit. That's stuff you should know how to do easily. This is the hard part. The new thing is setting up these equations based on the word problems. Okay? The answer ends up being like 36 for Marcy, and then plus 9, so it's 45 is the rate. So really that means each person would take 36 hours for the master and 45 minutes for the apprentice. That's it. This question works very similar. If you know the equation, it's not that bad, but you have to start with that equation. So the equation for these is distance equals speed times time. However you write it doesn't really matter. In this question, it's comparing. I want to set up a comparison between the two things. So between the car and the plane. So like this is car, this is plane. The thing that it actually compares for us is the time. So what I'm going to do is rearrange this equation so that it's time-based. So I'm going to say the car time is equal to the plane time. Except it says that the airplane time is 18 hours less. So what that means is that I'm going to have to subtract 18 from the car in order to make them equal to each other. Okay? The other way, if you want to think of it, is that if you took the plane time and you subtracted the car time, sorry, other way around. See, that's why you can mix them up if you get negatives. If you take the car time, which is the longer amount, and you subtract the plane time, which is the smaller amount, you'll end up with 18 hours left over. Whichever way you want to arrange your formula, it doesn't matter, as long as you make it balanced. The way I like to think of it is, which one's bigger, the car time or the plane time? Well, the car time will be bigger because it's slow, right? So this is the big one, and you have to subtract to make it the same size as the low one. All right, so now let's sum in some formulas. So the car time is going to be the distance over speed, and the plane is going to be distance over speed. Now we have to sub in what we know. The distance is the same, so it's still 1,000 for both. The only thing is the speeds are different. So the speed of the car we can call c, and the speed of the plane we call p. Now, this would be a problem because we got 2 different variables, but here it says that the airplane is 10 times the speed of the car. So what that means is that the airplane speed is equal to 10 times the car speed. So I'm going to replace that p over here. My pen would work. It's going to become 10c. Now this question's pretty basic. Again, you're going to multiply just like you did in the last one. So it's going to get multiplied everything times c, and c plus 10, or sorry, 10c. Okay, multiply everything out and then solve for c. It ends up being like 50, which means that the plane speed is going to be 10 times that, which is 500 kilometers per hour or whatever. That's how you do these questions. Just remember to start with that basic formula. So in this case, you got distance equals speed times time. And then you just got to figure out how you can make an equation where you're comparing two of those things. That's always how these set up. For the other one, same basic idea. We started with a base formula that makes logical sense. And if you just remember this, it makes it a lot easier. And then again, set up some kind of equation using the information they gave us. In this case, there were two people, so we had to add them together. And that's it.